Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we are talking about the USS Enterprise model kit from the motion picture. It is being put out once again this year in 2025 by Polar Lights and Round 2, and I definitely have a lot to say about this model. So I'm going to try and be organized today. I have 6 points I'm going to talk about. The first point I'm going to make is that this is an absolutely incredible model once you have it built and completed. The second point that I want to make, and I want to be clear on this was absolutely the best Star Trek model kit that ever came out when it came out in 2005. My third point is going to be that this model kit has been surpassed by more modern Star Trek model kits, which will lead me to my fourth point, which is there is a lot of work that has to be put in to the 350th USS Enterprise. My fifth point is going to be don't fall to the peer pressure you see online about the right way to build the Refit Enterprise. And my sixth point is going to be, once again, this is an incredible model kit once you have completed, and you will absolutely be proud of your build when you are done with this model kit. Now, somewhere in there, I will talk about the biggest flaws in the model kit, where you have to put your most time when it comes to fixing things, puttying seams, and cleaning up the build. Some of the things you have to do to light it. I'm also going to talk about the differences between the 1701 Refit and the 1701A. So that's what we're going to cover in the video today. So let's get started. Now, my first point is that this is an absolutely incredible model once you have it built. Let me turn on my lights because, of course, I did light my build. So this Enterprise is 34 inches long. It is absolutely imposing and beautiful when you see it in person, and if you light it, it is just that much more of an incredible sight. This ship was designed to look good on the big screen, and it looks good when it is in this large scale in person. It's meant to be self-illuminating. They thought in the darkness of space in the movie you'd want to have lots of lights shining on everything, so this model kit looks wonderful lit up. You will be happy with this model if you put the time and work into it, and even with a pretty simple build, it's going to look great. Absolutely an incredible model kit. Easily beats any other Enterprise model kit, especially kind of the older ones, but just a fantastic, beautiful model kit. And that's going to bring me to my second point. When this model kit came out in 2005, it was absolutely the best Star Trek model kit ever made. Now, they had tested the waters with the 350th scale NX-01, making a large scale over 30-inch model kit with a lot of detail, lots of cutout windows, lots of clear parts. But then they took that and they elevated everything when they made this the most popular iteration of the USS Enterprise, Kirk's Enterprise, from the movies. To really understand how greatly done this model kit was, think about that 537th scale kit from the 80s. That 22-incher, it was inaccurate. The windows were molded and inaccurately, and you had to drill them out if you wanted to cut them. You didn't have clear parts for the deflector dish. And it fell apart. When this model came out, people did not think it would be possible to have a model kit with these nacelles and this weight and have it accurate and have the nacelles hold themselves in place for years and for decades without brass armatures. When the model kit came out, people were selling and welding brass armatures to put inside it because they didn't believe that these would hold their weight. But the model kit, the engineering is absolutely fantastic. It holds its shape without any internal structure that you have to add on. Absolutely an internal marvel. And then the very fact that the model not only didn't let you light the windows, it gives you little clear parts to do all of these RCS thrusters, clear parts for the little spotlights under the bottom of the pylon, the spotlights that shine up on the neck. Not only do you get a clear deflector dish, you get clear parts for these RCS thrusters around it. And then they were doing things unheard of in Star Trek model kits. Little interior dioramas. There are 3 of them in the model kit. So the first one is there's an actual arboretum that spans the width of the ship down here for these big windows. An interior little park you paint with a little waterway, benches, little trees and foliage within those windows. That's incredible. Nobody had seen that in a Star Trek kit. You had not only a shuttle bay, but the shuttle bay and cargo bay run really kind of the length of this engineering hull. That scene in the motion picture where Kirk comes aboard and you see them loading all of the cargo for the mission, all of that interior space exists in this model kit. Absolutely incredible to have the cargo bay, the turbo lifts, little walkways, a little panel where the shuttles can sit, and of course then the actual shuttle bay itself where your shuttles can be placed and where they can launch out of the ship. And then we have the officer's lounge that is right back here in the back of the ship. Those internal dioramas were something that nobody expected we would ever see in a Star Trek model kit. And then just the attention to detail in this model kit. The molded in little hatches here for the lifeboats. The detailing on the bridge. And the fact that it came with optional parts so that you could paint it and detail it as either the Enterprise from the motion picture or from the 1701A from Star Trek 4, 5, and 6. Let me take some time right now to talk about some of the detail changes between the Enterprise Refit from the motion picture through Star Trek 3 and the Enterprise A from Star Trek 4, 5, and 6. Because this kit does come with some parts you switch out depending on which version you're building. I'm going to start with a small one. Right back here, there is a little kind of piece that's got fit in right at the bottom of the neck. There is a smooth one and one with ridges. The one with ridges is an updated detail for the 1701A. There is a bottom hole for the ship. There's 2 of them. One for the refit from the motion picture, which is smooth. There's also a bottom hole with extra grid lines. The extra grid lines were added in for the Enterprise A. One of the other structural differences, and this one's a little silly, is these little shapes right here around the deflector dish. There's 3 of them, 1, 2, and a third one on the other side. The rounded ones that are kind of quarter spheres, those were put on the model for the refit. When they went to shoot the ship for its single scene in Star Trek Voyager, they could not find those because they're also bolt covers to hold on the deflector dish. They couldn't find those pieces, so they quickly made some blockier ones. The model kit comes with those blocky ones if you want to look just like it did in Star Trek 4. But by the time we got to Star Trek The Undiscovered Country, they did re-replicate the rounded ones again. So if you want to look like it did in Star Trek 1, 2, 3, or 6, use the rounded ones. If you want to look like it did only in The Voyage Home, you use those blocky ones. So it comes with extra detail pieces that you swap out if you're going to make it the Enterprise A. The grid lines down below, the more ridged part here, and the blocky covers for these deflector housing bolts on that physical model. The model also was repainted when it became the A. These details here had originally been done in green. They were done in blue for the Enterprise A. Now this model kit here does actually come with those 2 color schemes. So it has blue decals and green decals depending on which version of the kit you would like to make. And then if you really want to go crazy on add-ins between the refit and the Enterprise A, there were some internal changes. There's a much smaller shuttle bay for the Enterprise as seen in Star Trek 5. And in Star Trek 6, instead of the officer's lounge here, this is the officer's mess. They used the tin forward set from Star Trek The Next Generation, but this is where they have their dining scene. So I wish that you can buy them aftermarket. You can buy them from garage kit makers and 3D printers to switch to a shuttle bay accurate for the A and the officer's mess instead of the VIP lounge. But once again, you know, this model kit, you can build it up either as the refit or the 1701A. And the fact that you kind of had that choice when this model came out was just absolutely mind-blowing. So once again, when this model kit came out in 2005, just absolutely the best Star Trek model kit that had ever been made. Now, is this model kit still considered the best Star Trek model kit ever made? No, it's not. And that brings me to my third point. This model kit has been surpassed by modern Star Trek model kits, specifically the TOS Enterprise in the same scale, and the Klingon Katinga and Kronos 1, and to a lesser extent the modern kits like the 350th Oberth and the 1/1000th Strange New Worlds Enterprise, all elevate Star Trek model kits even more than this. So I do see a lot of builders complain about this model kit, and that was a little bit of a shock to me until I really stepped back and looked at it. Because to me, I still look at this with those eyes from 2008, 2007, where this is the best model kit ever. And when I stepped back and compared it to the TOS Enterprise or the Klingon Katinga, yeah, this model has a lot of shortcomings. There are a lot of flaws that the modern kits don't have. Let me tell you about a few. We're going to start off kind of right back here with these windows for the recreation bay. And while we're at it, let's talk about these windows back here for either the VIP lounge or the officer's mess, or about the windows here on the Arboretum. On all of those, they are a single clear piece without window frames. Down here on the Arboretum windows, that's one clear part, and you have to paint those vertical frames across, or use photo etch to give it a better shape, or skip the clear part at all and put little styrene vertical beams in there. I've done kind of the laziest way here, which is simply I masked it off and I painted those little ridges. But on a modern kit, those window frames would have been molded into the kit, and you would have had a clear insert that would have kind of fit within all of those frames. Up here on the recreation deck windows, it's two long horizontal clear parts, and once again, you have to paint the little parts inside to make it nice square windows. It's kind of difficult to do. Same thing back here, you have to paint the frames on those windows, and especially when you see how they can mold in the windows for something like the Kronos 1 and the Katinga, you can see that if they did this kit nowadays, those frames would be molded into the kit. Simply, things are done better on their modern kits, and having to kind of rely on photo etch to get a really good shape on those is something you wouldn't have to do on a modern kit. The other thing about this kit that was surpassed on the modern ones is, yes, you can light this kit, but it's going to take a lot of work. The TOS Enterprise and the Katinga were made to be lit. The Strange New Worlds Enterprise was made to be lit. This one you can light. It's got a lot of room. It's got cutout windows. It's got clear parts. But there's a lot of modifications you have to make that you don't have to make on those other model kits. Let me talk about the saucer. So you have the top of the saucer, you have the bottom of the saucer, and then all the way around you have inserts to fit around from the sides. All that's well and good, except where the top and the bottom meet, there are walls that go all the way across. And those walls have the brackets that hold the inserts for the outer rim. You have to cut those walls apart so the light can shine through. So there's a wall right about here on the saucer. You have to cut those away. If you want to do kind of the interior lit spotlight, you have to cut the pegs off that hold the top and the saucer together. Sand it smooth so you can have kind of the light shining there for that light. So a lot of modifications in the saucer to get it lit. There's not a pre-made hole in either the bottom saucer or the top of the engineering deck. So even though there's room to run the wires, you have to cut those in yourself. And then once again, they gave you a fantastic clear piece here for the deflector, but right behind it is a solid opaque piece that you have to modify so that you can have light shining out through that deflector. There's just a lot of things where if they made the kit now, you wouldn't have that extra wall blocking your lights. You probably wouldn't have the post right here. You would have more of a transparent structure back here to really help you light that deflector dish. If you can see the photon torpedo launcher here, hopefully you can see that. It's a single clear piece for the black housing around it and those red lights. Nowadays, that probably would be done in multiple pieces, an opaque piece for the housing and then clear parts within it. As it is, it's very difficult to light block all of those tiny details and still leave the center parts clear to have the lights shine through. So really, I can see why a lot of people, if they see the TOS Enterprise or any modern sci-fi kits at all, when they come back to this one in 2005, it's easy to see the flaws that this model kit has. Which is going to bring me to my fourth point, which is this model kit's going to take a lot of work. I've already kind of discussed how there's a lot of modifications needed to make it light up well, a lot of light blocking that needs to be done. But there are also numerous fit issues and numerous parts that don't fit together well. The most notorious is right here where the pylons connect to the engineering hull. And when you dry fit these four pieces for the engineering hull, they fit together perfectly. When you dry fit the pylons together, they fit together perfectly. But when you add them all together, you get very significant gaps here, 2 millimeters, 3 millimeters, gaps on the back part of that pylon housing. You have big gaps that you have to fill and sand to a nice finish to make it look good. Gaps like that simply don't exist on some of those more modern kits, and it takes a lot of work. There are things you can do online. There are some tabs you can snip. I have tried snipping those. I've never gotten it to fit perfectly flush, even with those little changes. Every time I end up with a gap of at least 1 millimeter that I have to fill and sand on those little parts. The other part that you really need to do a lot of nice finish work is back here. You have an L-shaped piece that goes around this flooring here. So it goes around here, then comes up around the edge. I have had to fill putty and sand everywhere around this piece. So around here, where it meets the rest of the engineering hull, I've had to fill that. I have to fill it in where it meets the floor for that saucer bay. And I even have to fill it in down below. This piece it takes so much work to get it to fit nicely. And you want it to fit nice and smooth, so it takes a lot of work. Even now, you know, without looking at it, I actually just want to point out this part. I love this light under the fantail that shines forward here. I love the little beacon light here on the bottom. I love this one shining forward. So many things I love about this model, but it takes a lot of work to get those seams finished. The front leading edge of this nacelle, you gotta get that perfectly smooth. You end up sanding and smoothing all of the seams across the top of the nacelle. This neck has to be nice and smooth. Even this kind of seam right along the spine. All of these, you end up having to just do a lot of finish work to give it that seamless look that it should have. The most difficult part is probably around the saucer because there are sidewall pieces that go in and you don't want vertical seams breaking that up. But at the same time, there is detail and ridges, sensor bands that go all the way around that saucer. So you can't simply glue it and putty it and sand it all. You lose all of that detail. So it takes a lot of work to finish up that rim around the saucer. There are all sorts of builds of this model kit on YouTube, and when you watch them, you will see the immense level of work that goes into this model kit in lighting it and prepping it to be lit and finishing it and filling the gaps and filling the seams. And that's all before you even get to the paint job that you have to do on a model kit like this. All right, let me turn off the lights on the model kit so we can really take a look at the paint, because there's a lot of detailed painting that has to be done on the Enterprise. You know, to the layperson or the casual fan, if you close your eyes, you just can't picture a white ship. You kind of picture these distinctive nacelles, but there's so much more to this. I did the 1701A, so my accents are blue, but you've got these blue accents on the front of the nacelles, these blue leading edges across the entire ship, the strong back detailing all this cool paneling around the deflector dish on that engineering hull, the copper here in front of kind of the dark grays, the intricate panel along the pylons here, for that matter, the blue around the neck where that warp core goes. Even the bridge, you have the blue accents, you have a silver color, you have sand, you have gold, you have another gray going across the back. You have the red pinstriping, you have the accent color around the BC deck. There is so much painting that you just don't think about if you're not looking at the model kit. The goldish yellow color on all of these RCS thrusters, the yellow on the phasers, the pinstriping around the phasers, the phasers back by the shuttle bay, the little lights around the shuttle bay, the tractor beam emitters back here, and if you're doing the 1701A, the marking panels along here on the bottom. The detail painting is intense, and that's before you get to the hull paneling. So of course the 1701A is the model kit that created what we call the Aztec paneling, these panels of alternating colors that break up these huge surfaces across the ship. We know it most on the saucer, but that paneling is across the neck, it's across the body of the ship, it's across all of the nacelles. There really is not any part on the ship that is just plain white. This paneling goes over the entire thing, and people can decal it, people airbrush it and mask it, and it's fine if you just leave your ship white. But that paneling that so much of us love to put on the model kit is a very, very big job. And so the painting is just so much more intense on this than it is on the TOS Enterprise. So it just takes a lot of work. Now, while I'm talking about how much work goes into this kit, let's actually take a look at it. So this is the most recent version of the kit. POL1006 is the kit number for this newest boxing. And to show you just kind of the intensity of this kit, let's go ahead and unbox it and look at some of the pieces. Gorgeous artwork, just absolutely fantastic. Now, I haven't looked at this boxing before, but I do love this. You've got the full color shots of the ship around all of the sides, so you really get to see how it should look. And then we have our decals, a very nice large sheet of decals. All right, that is a very nice sheet of decals. As I mentioned before, the Enterprise Refit has a little bit more of a green color scheme for its strong backs and its accents, and the 1701A has a bit more of the blue. This decal sheet does give you both. You also get lots of red pinstriping to go around those phasers, around those little hatches, pinstriping to go around the bridge. You get all the pennants. You get little red circles to go around all of the airlocks. You get decals for the shuttle bay. These little cargo ones are for the cargo bay. These are ones you can add to the base to make it look a little bit more like the space dock. And of course, the registry does have the A, so you can put that on or leave it off depending on what type or which version of the ship you are making. So a very nice set of decals. It does not provide for you the paneling decals, but that is all right. In fact, these little ones right here, they are blue sky and white clouds to go in that kind of arboretum in the bottom of the ship. I hope I can fit this all in afterwards. A very nice boxing here. So we have our nacelles bagged separately. We have our saucer bagged separately. Ooh, that's a big piece of plastic. Now, right here, this is that wall I was talking about that can block your lights. And you can see this wall. This wall is what will hold in the inserts, but you can easily see how this wall will block your lights, and that has to be changed. Here's the bottom of the saucer. Once again, you'll have to drill a hole here to run your lighting down. And then here are the rest of our parts. Here are the sides of the engineering hull. One thing I love about this kit is the perfectly white plastic. That's very important if you're going to do any of the lighting effects where the light shines through your plastic. All right, so this is the bottom hull with more grid lines. So that would be for the Enterprise A. Here's our top of our engineering hull. Here is the other one without the grid lines here. So this is for the refit. Now, all of these parts have been very clean so far. In my experience, there's usually a lot of flash on this model kit. I haven't run into that yet. Here is our neck. Here are our pylons. I think there's something like 300 parts in this kit. Okay. Here is our deflector dish. Here's that part that I can't stand on the back by that shuttle bay. This is the part that I have to putty all the way around. Here's the flash that I'm used to seeing on this kit. Just lots of little flash around the sides here. Here's some of our long-range shuttle here. So one long-range shuttle here. Oh, yeah. Here are two parts of the long-range shuttle. Here's kind of that solid opaque piece behind the deflector dish. You usually have to modify the light. Ooh, and then three big sprues of clear parts. So the clear nacelle grills, lots of window inserts, deflector dish here. But these are all the clear parts for all of the windows. Here's a sprue with all of the sidewalls for the saucer. And right here, this is that recreation deck that I was telling you about. So where you just have the two horizontal big gaps, and you have to put in all the vertical frames yourself. Now here are some of the fun parts. And the flash is actually so much better on this printing of the ship than in previous ones. You can see a little bit of the flash down here. I promise you, this is actually much better than most of the boxings that I've seen for this model kit. It's looking like a very good pressing of the kit for this iteration. More of our little shuttles here. Here is the part that you switch out between for the back of the neck. So this is the smooth one for the refit. This is the ridged one for the Enterprise A. These are the parts that go on the deflector housing. These are those blocky ones that go on the Enterprise A. These are the ones that go on the refit and the Enterprise for Star Trek The Undiscovered Country. Lots of little pieces there. And this is one where I'll try and get in a little bit more detailed. But here we have that VIP lounge. Here we have that arboretum you build. And then we have the parts here for the shuttle bay and the cargo deck. So if I can get my Enterprise back in frame here, this is how big that shuttle bay and cargo deck is within the ship. You build this entire kind of like diorama, and it just sits inside the ship. But if you look in from the back, you can see the different levels to the cargo bay. There'll be little turbo lifts that go in here, and you paint it all and detail it. It's a very cool little build. And then of course our arboretum with trees, it would sit right in here behind those windows. So cool things you never end up really seeing once the model's built. All right, let me see if I can put all of this back and close up the box again. But I honestly think that this boxing is better. There is still some flash around the sprues, but nothing like they've had in the past. And that really brings me to my fifth point, which is really, you know, don't get caught up in the peer pressure. You go on Facebook sometimes, you go on forums, you go on YouTube, and you start thinking that if you're going to build this kit, you better use the photo etch. You'd better use Aztec masks. You'd better use the 5 color masks. You'd better buy the specific brand of taxidermy pigments that was used on the model kit from 1979. You'd better buy the best little chip to control all of your lighting. You'd better have the deflector dish that warms up to orange and slowly turns blue. I really want to tell you, don't fall into any of that peer pressure. There are so many ways to build this model kit. None of them are the right way. If you just want to glue it together without lights and decal it after a little bit of hand painting, that is absolutely fine. When I started building this kit for the first time in like 2009, 2010, whenever it was, everybody was using photo etch for the cargo bay, little photo etch railings, little photo etch ladders going up the deck, photo etch little cargo boxes throughout. And I think that was a holdover from the people who built big ships. They always used photo etch for those sorts of things. That kind of became a little bit more of a fad. And then there was really kind of the airbrushing and masking and kind of the color shifting pigments all over the place. Then of course there were people who do the most intricate lighting schemes you've ever seen. My advice is think about what you enjoy in the hobby. Do you like lighting things? Do you like airbrushing? Do you like the electronics? Do you like playing with photo etch? Whichever one of those you like, put them in your model. Or even if you like it, if you think it's something that no one else will see and you're not that interested, just skip it. There is no right way. And sometimes when you're online, you start thinking that you have to use all these specific add-ons. You really don't. Think about what you enjoy and make it a process you enjoy while you build the model. You'll be much happier doing that than just something where you're trying to keep up with the Joneses by doing all the add-ons you see on all the different forums or on the different groups, or doing it a specific way just because you saw a specific master builder build it that way. Don't fall in to any of those peer pressure kind of points. And that's going to bring me back to my final point, which is when you are done with all of it, when you're done with all of your add-ons, when you're done with all of your painting, with whatever lighting you do, you're going to be happy with your model. I could play with this model all day long. I love the little shuttles it gives you. No other model kit is giving you as many shuttles as this. You've got, I think you get 2 of the Galileo type shuttles here. I think you get 2 of kind of these these long-range warp shuttles. I have more because I've built this kit so many times, but I've added a lot of little things like magnets to my ship so I can have my long-range shuttle kind of dock here with the hull, or dock up here where Kirk's travel pod docks at the start of Star Trek 2. In fact, I have a little, it comes with some of these little travel inspection pods like Kirk takes to the Enterprise in the motion picture. And I think in the motion picture, he docked here to go into that cargo bay. In the Wrath of Khan, he docked up here. So I have magnets where I can kind of hold those onto. But just absolutely, once you have your model built, you will absolutely be proud of it and you will love it. And that's really what it's all about. If you end up picking up the Enterprise Refit, put your time, your effort into it, you're going to have a model that you are absolutely thrilled with by the time you are done with your build. I mean, I look at this and I know I just did the wallpaper decals. I know I just filled it with lights and I didn't do anything blinking. I did light the bottom of the shuttle bay and I kind of carved out these little landing lights. I did enjoy that. You know, the other thing I wanted to do is I put a doorway right about here, so you don't see in all the way, to make it look a little smaller like it should on the 1701A from the Final Frontier. So I've done a few changes to make it look a little bit more like the Enterprise A instead of the Refit. But just absolutely a model that you're going to be proud of. All right, guys, thank you so much for letting me kind of put my thoughts out there to the world about the 1/350th scale USS Enterprise Refit being put out by Polar Lights again in 2025. If you like Star Trek model kits and you're in the mood for a big build that will test you and you'll have to put a lot of work into, but will leave you with an absolutely incredible looking model kit, then this is a fantastic kit to pick up. It's one of the kits where I see people really build it over and over to outdo themselves time and time again. I'm certainly guilty of that myself. So, you know, it's one of those kits where it kind of comes out every couple years, and then you buy it, or if you don't buy it, you end up buying it from scalpers a few years later. It's a kit that I think is definitely worth picking up if you're in for a big, intense build. I love the Enterprise Refit, so I had to pick up another one. Will I build it online? I don't know. This is one of those models where a lot of people get really judgy about it, and sometimes I'm just happy to build it for myself and be happy with my own model without kind of putting it out there for everybody. I don't know, maybe I'll do parts of it on the channel. If I think of something really special, I might do the build, but YouTube is already kind of filled with tons of videos about the 1701A. So once again, just thank you guys for watching my little unboxing here. Make sure to pick this up if you're interested in Star Trek model kits. You can pick it up at Cult TV Man Hobby Shop, of course, or anywhere else where you buy Star Trek model kits. Thank you guys for following the channel, and I'll be back soon.